How's it going, everybody? It is time for another reworked, and we are going to rework day 4 of the Pinhoti project. Um, there wasn't much to talk about in day 3. I think you were able to see enough to figure out what happened there. We basically invested it was a lot of sweat equity put into day 3. A summary there is we ended up in the middle of a very large burn and a very fresh burn that the birds hadn't had time to get back to yet. Um, I love to hunt a burn. I don't want to hunt the center of a burn that's thousands of acres that's a couple days old because obviously the turkeys were pushed out of there with the burn and hadn't made it back. That's our reasoning as of now anyway. Um, let's see. Before we hop into this, I'll grab a couple questions that I remember offhand. Um, Someone asked about what we shoot and our optics, our gun, that type of equipment. I've got mine right here. Squirrel, Chubbs, and I all shoot Burris fast fires. The holographic. I actually got these little rubber things that we like to put on top of them, made by Dream Plastics. But it's just a little fast fire holographic sight there, and we put it on a 336 mount that mounts really tight to the receiver there. Um, Been using it for a few years now, several years, and really like it. Um, I know all three of us. I've got the two on this one. It's kind of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy. Because I just don't touch it because it works really well and hasn't failed me yet. I know Squirrel and Chubbs both have the Fast Fire 3 on theirs. I've shoot a Franchi Affinity Compact. It's got the short stock on it. Really short length of pull. I really like it for turkey hunting. Just saves me a couple inches. Um, and Squirrel shoots the Franchi Affinity, not the Compact, but the Affinity. And Chubb shoots a Benelli M2. Um, but that's all about the guns. As far as ammunition, we all have for several years rolled our own shells. We roll TSS is what we shoot. Um, Not much else you can say about that. Have done that for several years. The other questions was about our vest. Um, could go on for hours about our different vests. It's kind of a running joke. Um, Chubbs wore his Dixon a lot this year, but he's got a an old Tom. I'm not sure what model they call it or whatever. And then I have an Alps vest that I got a couple years back, and I think Squirrel's got the same thing, saying an Alps vest. But if you look at in detail, you can even see it in the videos if you pay attention. These vests, those vests are just a base that we build off of because we've all three done so many modifications to these vests that it's ridiculous. We all I got a guy that's got a really nice sewing machine and a really big sewing machine, and he has made so many modifications to this thing for me. The amount of hours that we've put into the customization of these vests is ridiculous, but it's something that you wear as much as we wear these things and want everything to be in the perfect spot. They don't make a perfect vest because I think everything's so personal. Everybody wants something in just the right spot. So the way we deal with that is making our own. Uh, a couple of modifications to my vest that you can see even in the videos is like it's an Alps vest, but I have like a Cabela's style, the Tater Speed seat on it. It's the best seat that I've found. I think Squirrel's even put that style of seat, but it's an inner tube seat. Um, let's see, we've done some modifications. I know Squirrel and I like using the bladders to carry water in, and has the little tube that's run over so that we have easy access to water. It makes me drink more water. I'm bad about not drinking enough water. So that makes it more accessible, so I drink more water. Also avoids that loud crunching water bottle I hate. But anyways, that, and then all the pockets on the inside are so specific. And just trying to think of some other things offhand that the vest has that is crazy. Anyways, like I said, those vests, we may do a vest dump or something and show you in a little more detail what I'm talking about. But that's a quick overview of the vests that we wear. As far as what was some other, calls. Someone had made a mention is if I use different calls since I obviously blow a mouth call a lot. Yes, I do. I do use different calls, but I'm the cameraman a lot, so it's hard to use your hands, which is what I have to use with the other calls when I'm also videoing. So, but yeah, I use a mouth call a lot. Obviously what I'm most comfortable with. But I also carry a pot call. It's a glass or crystal. I don't really know the difference, but it's a glass surface. I think it's the pot that I carry is made by Jimmy Schaefer. I've used one of his that same pot for several years now, and I just like it's loud. Uh, it's got a good sound to it, so I carry that. I also carry a wing bone a lot. Here again, you don't see me running it much because it takes two hands to operate, but I do carry a wing bone quite often. Um, I do carry a tube call. Don't use it a whole lot, but I always have it. It's just another one of those things I carry as far as calls. But other than that, and a handful of mouth calls, that's about it. I do use those other calls, but I don't carry a lot of calls. As far as what else might be in my vest, I always have pruners. I always have a GPS, even though I'd use my phone the majority of the time nowadays. Um, let's see, Thermacell. Like in Florida, you saw us using Thermacells a lot because it's just an essential thing. I also have DEET because sometimes those mosquitoes will eat a Thermacell up and spit them out, so it's necessary to have both. Um, Anyways, that's enough on the vest and the calls and stuff. We'll start getting into day 4. I need to back up here. Let's see. Day 4 was Courtney and I in Florida. It was her first go at videoing, so um, that was fun. Let's see. All right, this is us walking in here. The area, it was just another one of those, and I know you probably get tired of hearing this. It's an experience thing. I've been going to Florida for quite some time. I stumbled up on this area just looking at maps, thought the area looked good. This was many years ago. I've been going back to this particular area for many years. um, it's good some years, it's not good some years. Some years it'll have birds, and some years it flat out won't. Some years you have to wade to get to it. Some years you don't. This particular year, we didn't even have to walk in any water to get there. We had to walk through a lot of what I call peanut mud. The stuff sticks to your feet, won't get off your feet. It's just a mess to try to walk through. It's a pain in the neck to try to walk through, but you had to walk through a lot of that, and it was a fairly long walk. I think we said we had about 9 miles on our feet by the time we got back. So it's pretty grueling. It's another one of those situations to where you really need to be in some type of physical shape to get in there. And that's something that we try to do, even during the off season. I'm not saying I'm Cam Hanes or anything here. I'm not a fitness guru. I don't, count carbs or calories or anything. But I do make sure that I stay in well enough shape to where walking 9 or 10 miles in a swamp's not a problem. Like day 3. Um, Day 3 we put like 19 miles on, 14 by bike. And when we say 14 by bike, we're not riding down a blacktop road. I mean, it's rough bike riding, then rough walking through thick stuff. I'm sorry, but if you're carrying an extra 75 pounds, it's going to be hard to do. So that's something that we make sure that when it gets to be turkey season, our lungs are ready, our legs are ready. Try to prepare somewhat in the off season. Like I said, I'm not sitting here claiming to be a fitness guru by any means. I don't spend 100 hours a week in the gym or something. But anyways, just thought it was worth mentioning. But that's fairly grueling walk to get into this place. The distance was so-so, but the terrain you have to go through is pretty rough. Anyway, I'll try to jump forward here because y'all have seen this, I assume. Let's walk through to about right here, see what's up. Saying a little prayer here to grace our morning. Let's see. We got lucky and got in there this year, and there happened to be a couple turkeys gobbling in there, and I can count on one hand how many times I've heard multiple birds in there. That was a treat. Um, you see me here. What I'm doing is I'm essentially wanting to nail this turkey's location down. You saw, uh, if you guys have watched, you saw Squirrel and I kind of rush through this part of the process in day 5, assuming the turkey was going to keep gobbling and we would be able to keep track of him that way. I'm not making that mistake here. I'm standing there wanting to be stationary when this turkey gobbles so I can get a pin on exactly where he's at. So if he stops gobbling, I still have a location I can continue working toward. That's what I'm doing here. I've obviously kind of got that pin. And also what I'm doing is I'm getting wanting to figure out, and you've heard us mention several times in these Florida deals here, to where we're trying to get to these dried ponds. Essentially, the edges of these ponds, a lot of times, not all the time, have a little bit shorter grass. And even though these gobblers and these turkeys make a living in this thick, tall stuff, they still prefer something that's a little shorter. So if you can find stuff that's a little shorter, a lot of times that's where you'll find the turkey. So looking at where he's gobbling and trying to find, there's a couple old dried ponds there, and essentially I'm trying to figure out which one I want to go to. And that's why I'm really studying the satellite imagery on my phone as he's gobbling. You see me just glaring at that phone, and that's exactly what I'm doing, as I'm trying to figure out which one of those ponds that I want to choose to try to call him to. And I'm trying to do it in a hurry because I'd like to get to that pond before he flies down to try to provoke him to choose my pond. So we'll bounce forward a little here. See where this puts us. Oh, we jumped way on forward there. I think it's right where I want to be. Essentially, this is the pond I picked here, and you can see the grass. It's not much shorter. This pond just wasn't much shorter. Like I said, it's not always the case, but we slipped in here. I got Courtney on this tree. The turkey is on the other side of this line of pines, somewhere back in here, and you hear me calling here. I'll start it again. This cabbage palm right here in the corner is where I'm going to be. And before I round that cabbage palm, I know that gobbler's somewhere right here, and I think he's still in the tree. So I call to him because I want to provoke that gobble so that I'm just looking around that tree first off to make sure that he's not on a limb over here somewhere and can see me, because we're obviously getting pretty tight at this point in time. So I call and he gobbles, and I'm looking around the side of that cabbage palm and making doggone sure he can't see me. I don't see him, and I hear him gobble. I've got him nailed pretty good, so I think I'm good to go. And that's when you see me over here in the corner. I slide around and get on the front of that cabbage palm. You know, if I would have just busted around that cabbage palm and went and took that seat, and he would have been somewhere on the top of one of these pine limbs. Everything's flat down there. So if he's in the top of one of these pines, he can see a good piece. So if I'd have just busted around the front of that cabbage palm and he'd have been there, obviously everything would have been soured. So that's why we kind of slow down a little bit at that point in time. I can start the video back up here, and like I said, the grass just made it impossible to get a whole lot of video about this hunt. I am glad that you guys as the viewers can appreciate everything else that went into the hunt and still enjoy the video without there being a lot of strutting turkey and gobbling turkey in front of the camera lens, because you don't see a lot of that in our videos. It's just the style of hunting we choose to do. As far as the calling strategy that went into this hunt, and I even mentioned it in writing here at some point, there was the two gobblers that we ended up getting there, and I tried my best to get between them. In this particular situation, that wasn't possible. I even noted it right there. I'm calling in response to the most distant gobbler. That's just something that I've done. I've had success with it. It seems to work. can I tell you with 100% certainty that that's what's going on? Then I'm calling to the other gobbler, and the nearest gobbler is trying to beat him to me, or is jealous or whatever. If it's even possible to provoke that kind of response, I don't know. But that's what I'm aiming for. And so there was these two gobblers. I tried my best to get between them as much as I could, and calling to the most distant gobbler. I know you can't hear it very well with the audio of the cameras, but when you hear me cut like that as a reaction, you just kind of hear me reacting. That's because that most distant gobbler has gobbled, and I'm cutting at him, like I'm calling like he's the one that I'm interested in, trying to provoke this closest gobbler, which is the closest gobbler right back in here, to come on in, pay us a visit. And essentially what happens, now here again, I know you can't see it through the camera lens, but this turkey appears in the back here, comes out of these pines in the edge of this pond. And as soon as he does, I make out, I see him, and all the calling stops because he's advancing on me. He's within eyesight of me at this point. The calling ends, and I don't call unless I have to at that point because he's still making ground on me. He's already got my location pinned down. I don't want to call to him with him in eyesight of me because that gives him a chance to pin me down even further and possibly see me. So that's what I just noted there. The gobbler's appeared at the back of these pines here. He's making his way across this grass. And if you listen closely enough, you can hear him drumming because he is drumming. He goes into like about a half strut, maybe a lot like a lot of these turkeys do. They're going to do about a half strut and drum, and he's slicked right back out and looking and keeping his eyes open. But anyway, we'll try to jump forward here without going past we'll have to jump forward. Courtney does lay eyes on him, and she tries to zoom in through this stuff, and you see me point him out here, and that's his head right there. But zoom into it, and that's him standing there, and that's his head. You see him go down to kind of like a little bit of a strut, but somewhere right around in here, he smells a rat. You hear him putt one time there, and you hear the palm shift, and there you go. The palm shift because I was a little bit out of position, just a couple inches, and so when he putted, that's kind of when I make that last little adjustment and get on him. Here's the barrel camera that was attached to the gun, and you see that's where he was standing, and there's nothing but a mist across the top of that wet grass. That's kind of the way that all worked out. Maybe a little bit of a more cut and dry hunt there for as far as explanation goes. There wasn't a lot of explaining to do. The sun hadn't gotten quite up, so we didn't have that to deal with on this hunt. Happened really fast. You can see it. It's got all the trees back here just lit up, but it hasn't broke across the top of those trees, so we're not having to deal with the sun glare on our equipment or in our eyes or anything like that. So everything was still dingy, so which was an easy time to get away with a little bit of movement or a more set up a little bit more maybe out in the open or whatnot. But let's see, as far as anything else to mention about the hunt, that was about it. That's what came together that got him killed. Other than that, it's just us enjoying the fruits of our labor. Going and picking him up and enjoying him and thanking him for his sacrifice. And that's about it. I hope y'all guys enjoyed the snake deal there too. That was an amusing little bout we had on the way out. He was a big ugly joker. And no, I didn't kill him. I in the frame of mind that I'm in his house when I'm out in the swamps like that. A cottonmouth is about the only one that I would kill if he was up, close to the house or, somewhere where somebody was really going to get in trouble with him. But the rest of them I leave alone regardless. But we left him alone. We were miles back in the swamp. I mean, where else is he supposed to live peacefully? So we just made our way around him and left him back there. So anyways, that's going to do it for the recap or rework on day 4. Hope you enjoyed it. I thank you guys very much for continuing to follow along. We got I released day 7 today. We got one more day in Florida, and it's another stellar day in Florida. So you guys stay tuned to that. But after Florida, I'm working on Alabama footage right now and getting into the hardwoods. I know people have been asking for where's the hardwoods hunts. They're coming. We're in the Alabama hardwoods hunting national forest gobblers here in a couple next couple days that you'll get to watch. So just be ready for that. I've had a few people talk about how shaky the footage is and the low quality of the footage, and if you don't like what we got in Florida, then you might as well go ahead and bow out. You're not going to be able to make it any further in the season because things as far as video quality, how much turkey footage we get, things of that nature, it's going to go down when we get into the hardwoods. We start hunting these pressured eastern turkeys. These turkeys here in Florida are as hard to kill as any of them in the country, and I've hunted all of them. But we just got flat out lucky as far as the video footage that we were able to capture on this trip down there. So I feel very fortunate for that. But once we got home, things got about like I expected them to be for the whole bout. So that's coming, guys. Bear with us as we get in on these hardwoods turkeys. But we'll get this one cleaned up and out there for your viewing pleasure probably tomorrow. So any questions, stick them on the YouTube video. Send your friends over here to have a look at what we're doing here. Give the videos a thumbs up. I found out that's a pretty important deal, so if you could do that for me, it would be awesome. And we'll see you on the next one.